Okay, so we begin greetings and hello everyone. It's very nice to see everyone, and we begin with the questions. We have 5 questions from the English speaking audience. So the first one is a question about the field of accumulation and especially the central figure in that field of accumulation. So it appears that we have one system in which Buddha Shakyamuni is the main figure, and then we have another system in which the main figure is Lama Tsongkhapa, and then there is other further variations, with Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara at his heart and so forth. So the question is, what are the differences between those two systems? Why do we have 2 different systems? And maybe there is some benefit in one and so forth. So yes, we have to say that the general system, the general way of establishing that visualization of the field of accumulation is to have the central figure in the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni. Always the nature of the central figure is your own root guru. The aspect is Guru Shakyamuni in general. So that's the general system. It applies to everyone. Then we find another system where, again, the nature of the central figure is the root guru, but the aspect is Lama Tsongkhapa. For example, this is in accordance with the practice of Lama Chöpa. So this is a specific case. It is easier to apply this in a specific context, and this is why it is done. So as we said in the first case, the general case, where we have the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni, it is something that applies to everyone. In the second case, particularly if you are a follower of the Gelug tradition and you want to recognize that Lama Tsongkhapa is the origin of this tradition, this is where the Gelug tradition originated from. So for that reason, we want to give the aspect of the main figure, the aspect of Lama Tsongkhapa. So it's a unique feature, a specific visualization, if you want, within the Gelug tradition. So it is just this difference of general and specific to the Gelug tradition. The other thing to keep in mind is that you can change the aspect of that main figure, even although we say, in general, we have Buddha Shakyamuni, depending on the subject that you meditate upon, you might change that aspect. So let's say that you are doing practices to develop compassion, to do mind training and so forth. You can change the aspect from Buddha Shakyamuni to Avalokiteshvara. If you want to meditate on emptiness, then you can change the aspect from Buddha Shakyamuni to Manjushri. So there is no hard and fast rule. You can actually change that aspect even to suit your particular practice and inclination. But when we look at this general tradition, where the general system, where we say in nature is your own root guru, in aspect Buddha Shakyamuni, they say if you meditate in this way, you will receive the blessings faster and you will receive more extensive blessings. You receive the blessings faster if you recognize the main figure to be your root guru, because actually the blessings will come to you directly from your root guru. And because there is that proximity, the blessing comes faster, quicker. And then, of course, if you have the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni is our teacher, is the founder of the Buddhist tradition. So then the blessing that you receive is greater. So this is the difference, and these are the specific features or benefits from these 2 systems. Awesome. Okay, so the second question is a question where how can we be very honest and acknowledge that sometimes we do not do what the Lama advises to do due to our laziness and self-cherishing. So let's say that you go and see the Lama, and the Lama says, now it's appropriate for you to do this practice and that meditation. You have to purify, you have to accumulate, you have to practice Guru Yoga, and so forth. And then you end up with all these instructions for practice, and then you think, if I do all this, I don't have much time to sleep, right? And then out of laziness or self-cherishing, you end up saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Or there are the times that actually it is due to illness, where you have to draw the line and say, sorry, it's beyond my physical capacity. So the question really is, how can you be honest about when it is appropriate to say that, sorry, I cannot do that? So Geshe was saying, first of all, when you go and you ask for some instructions, and your teacher is giving you instructions and says, I advise you to practice this and this and this, always they advise you from the point of view of wanting to benefit you. There is this quotation that we have found in the scripture where it gives you the permission to refuse. But this is when the Lama is asking you to do something inappropriate, something which is non-virtuous. So if you perceive what the Lama says to you, as advises you to practice, as being non-virtuous, so politely and by giving a reason, you say, I'm sorry, but I will not do this because. But when your Lama is giving you advice to practice virtue, because he wants to benefit you, he wants to support your happiness in future lives, Geshe says, I think it's inappropriate to say, okay, there's an occasion where I can refuse to do the practice, so now I'm going to say I'm not doing this practice. So straight from the beginning, it is not appropriate to do that. So really we have to look at this situation where our laziness, our attachment to sleep is making us not want to do the practice, not want to do the commitment. Of course, we live busy lives. So we're busy, we have to go to work. You come back from work, we have limited time. And if you have extra practices, it means you have less time to sleep. Right? The sleep is to support the body, but also we enjoy sleep, right? It's kind of like a luxury. We enjoy sleep. However, the advice that the Guru is giving you is to do practice so that you can enjoy happiness and well-being in your future lives. So it is not appropriate to say, sorry, I can't do it. You have to sit down and think, my Guru is telling me to do this because he wants to benefit me. So I will try, even though I cannot do the extensive version, even if I cannot practice everything, at least I can do the short version. I can practice for 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, right? Not an hour, 10 minutes. And then every day with familiarity, you will be able to extend the amount of time you have for practice. Right? So do not be in a hurry straight from the beginning to say, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. You have to make an effort to practice at least 5-10 minutes this practice. Okay, we come to the third question here, and the third question came from this line that we have where we say, I may request to you, Buddha Vajradhara, the Supreme Guru Yidam, embodiment of the 4 kayas. So the 4 kayas, so the 4 bodies of the Buddha. So the question was, what are those 4 bodies and what are their characteristics? And in particular, the first one, the nature body of the Buddha. So first of all, to enumerate them, we have 4 bodies of the Buddha. We have the nature body, we have the wisdom body, we have the enjoyment body, and we have the emanation body of the Buddha. So let's define the first one, which is the nature body of the Buddha. So the nature body of the Buddha is described as the body, the reality of the twofold purity the Dharma body that exists in the continuum of an Arya Buddha. So here we're talking about a twofold purity, purity in terms of two aspects, and this refers to purity from natural stains and purity from adventitious stains. So what do we mean by this? We mean that we have an individual here who has been meditating to develop the antidote to self-grasping, meditating on emptiness. And that meditation on emptiness is supported through the aspect of bodhicitta, the six perfections, and so forth. So as this being pursues this path or develops this antidote more and more, then this self-grasping and all other afflictions gradually become less and less and less. So at the end, they come to the point of totally eliminating this type of adventitious stains through the power of the antidote. And by eliminating this, they have the purity from adventitious stains. Then in addition with that, we say that we have the natural purity, which is now referring to the emptiness of the mind that has obtained this type of purity. So here with the nature body, we are talking about this aspect of cessation, because you have abandoned certain things, you have abandoned the two types of stains, two types of obscurations, afflictive obscurations, knowledge obscurations. So with this level of cessation, we can say that we define or that we obtain the nature Dharma body of the Buddha. Okay, so it's something that exists within the mental continuum of an Arya being, is this twofold purity existing in a continuum of an Arya being. This is how we would describe the nature body. Okay, then we come to the second one, which is the wisdom body. So for the wisdom body, we're talking about the wisdom that directly realizes the variety of everything that exists and the reality of everything that exists. So when we say it directly realizes the variety, it refers to realizing all conventional phenomena. And then when we say it realizes the reality, it means it realizes emptiness of all phenomena. So that complete knowledge that exists in the continuum of an Arya Bodhisattva, it is called the wisdom body of the Buddha. Okay. Then we continue with the next one, which is the enjoyment body and the emanation body. These two are the form bodies of the Buddha. And the other day we had an explanation and we said that the enjoyment body is the body that has 5 certainties, whilst the emanation body does not have the 5 certainties. So remember, in terms of the 5 certainties, the enjoyment body has the certainty of the body that is adorned with the marks and signs. It has the certainty of the abode, abiding in a pure field, a Kanishta pure field. It has the certainty of Dharma, teaching the Mahayana Dharma. It has the certainty of the retinue, only teaching to Arya Bodhisattvas, and it has the certainty of time that abides or remains until samsara is empty, whilst the emanation body does not have these certainties. So if we look at the supreme emanation body, our teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, who came into this world, he came into a different aspect, like a human aspect with a human lifespan, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is a presentation, but since there was a particular emphasis on the nature body, we need to understand that when we present the nature body, there are some scholars who say the nature body must necessarily be emptiness. There are other scholars who say it is not pervasive that the nature body is absolutely must be emptiness. And Geshe is saying my position and my presentation comes from that second body, from that second part, that if it is the nature body, it doesn't have to necessarily be emptiness. We continue now with the third question. The third question has two branches. So we have talked about having the main figure, and the main figure is like a composite figure that has the three beings. We have the commitment being, the wisdom being, and the concentration being. And then in addition to that, we visualize the 5 syllables in the 5 places. So the first question is about how do we actually stack, or how do we build up this visualization of the 3 beings, because it's all happening at the heart, and it's like, isn't it too much? It's quite busy. The area gets at the heart there is getting quite busy. And the second question is, what is the significance of placing those 5 syllables in the 5 places of the body? So let's look at the first one. We say that we have the main figure, and the way that we visualize this main figure is that externally it has the aspect of Buddha Shakyamuni, and that Buddha Shakyamuni is the commitment being. At his heart, we have Buddha Vajradhara, who is the wisdom being, and at the heart of Buddha Vajradhara, we have the syllable hum, that is the concentration being. So one thing to keep in mind is that their bodies are not material bodies. They're not like our bodies that are gross bodies made out of flesh and bones. These bodies are manifestations of wisdom, manifestations of awareness, and therefore they are bodies of light. Being bodies of light, it means that they can occupy the same location without actually impeding each other. Okay, so the way that we do this visualization is that the commitment being has a larger body, and then the wisdom being that goes at its heart is a bit smaller. And then the concentration being is just the syllable hum that goes at the heart of the wisdom being. And because they are immaterial, they are in the nature of light, there is no, there's no friction between them. They can all be placed there, one inside the other. So Geshe was saying is like the reflection of various things in the face of the mirror, right? So you can have a lot of things reflected on the mirror, and they don't clash with each other. They don't compete for space. They all fit in there. Okay, so just remember there are bodies that are made out of light, and that would make the visualization easier. Okay, now the second point, the second question about placing those 5 syllables in 5 locations of the body. So at the crown, we place the syllable Om. The syllable Om is the seed syllable of Buddha Vairochana. And Buddha Vairochana is the agent of purification, or the purified aspect of the aggregate of form. Okay, so why do we place this at the crown? Because the white bodhicitta, that is the basis for establishing our bodies, the basic material that produces our body, is actually placed at the crown. So when we want to signify that we're going to purify the aggregate of form, we place the syllable Om in the nature of Vairochana at the crown. The second syllable is the syllable A, red syllable A at the throat. At the throat, the syllable A has the nature of Buddha Amitabha, and Buddha Amitabha represents the purified aspect of the aggregate of discrimination. Now, we have different types of discrimination, right? We can discriminate various things. Here in particular, we want to discriminate amongst activities of at the time of the basis, of the path, and the result. And this discrimination happens on the basis or through speech. And because speech and vocalization is happening at the throat, in order to signify that we're purifying discrimination through speech, we put the syllable A at the chakra here. We have the chakra of enjoyment at the throat. At the heart, we have the syllable hum. The syllable hum is in the nature of Buddha Akshobhya, that represents the purified aspect of the aggregate of consciousness. Why at the heart? Because at the time of conception, consciousness first enters the sperm and the ovum, right? And where that initial location where it enters becomes the heart of the body. So the first basis of consciousness is the heart. And therefore, in order to signify that we're purifying consciousness, we put the syllable hum at the heart. Then we have the syllable so at the navel. The syllable so is in the nature of Buddha Ratnasambhava, and it signifies the purification of feeling. So, okay, so it signifies the purification of feeling, and that is because whatever the three types of feeling that we have are based upon a sensation of warmth, of heat. And from the different types of heat, two more, it abides in the navel, develops and abides in the navel. So to signify that we purify feelings, we put the syllable so at the navel. Then we have the syllable ha in the nature of Amoghasiddhi at the secret area. And this Amoghasiddhi is the purified aspect of the aggregate of formation. All right, the reason for that is because the mental factors, apart from the mental factor of feeling and discrimination, all other mental factors that include the root and the secondary afflictions that become the causes that establish samsara, and the winds that carry these type of afflictions abide below the navel. So they abide around the area of the secret area. So by putting there the syllable ha, we indicate that we are purifying this formation, the aggregate of formation. So this is why we have the syllables there. Okay, we have the last question, and the last question was someone saying, you know, in the West, we never get to hear any explanation about the Dakinis and about the Dharma Protectors. So could Geshe please elaborate, say something about them? So first of all, for the Dharma Protectors, we have two classes or two divisions. Some of them are mundane and some of them are supramundane. So when you talk about supramundane Dharma Protectors, they are beings who have obtained the Arya path, so they are Arya beings, whilst the mundane protectors, they have not reached the Arya path, they are not Arya beings. They're called Dharma Protectors because they protect the Dharma practitioners. Dharma practitioners encounter obstacles and difficult conditions, and they need some protection. Like, you know, they're guardians, right? You know how we have bodyguards and they protect our bodies in the, you know, in the common sense. So you want to have a Dharma guard that will be by your side and will protect you when you practice, when obstacles arise. So they guard us, they protect the Dharma practitioners. The ones that we have in the merit field, they are super mundane, all right? So they're all Arya beings. Every figure that you see in the merit field, in the field of accumulation, is an Arya being. You will not put a mundane, ordinary being there. So sometimes you can see we have protectors outside or below the merit field, and this indicates that they are mundane. The supramundane Arya beings are all up on the merit field. Okay, so the second question now about Dakas and Dakinis. They're also known as the heroes and the heroines. We had a little bit of sound interference there, but here we are referring to tantric practitioners from the path of accumulation all the way to enlightenment, when they assume the aspect of the deity. If it is female, it is referred to as a Dakini or a heroine. If it is male, it is referred to as the Daka or a hero. So male and female aspect for tantric practitioners. Okay, so now we go back into our text. We are doing the easy path, and last time we stopped at the point where we have begun making the supplications. We are on the 6th preliminary. So we have our guru at the crown of our head, and we begin doing the supplications. We say that we have done already 3 types of requests. The first one is the request where we have the Lama as a representative, as we are requesting for the 3 great purposes. Then we did the request for heaped blessings. And finally, we did the request that is similar to driving a peg, single peg into the ground. So in this, when we do the request like driving a peg into the ground, we begin by reciting those lines that say, I may request to you, Buddha Vajradhara, the Supreme Guru Yidam, embodiment of the 4 kayas, and so forth. So in our English translation, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 long lines. In Tibetan, each one of those long lines is actually 2 lines. So in this, we have 2 sections. The first 2 Tibetan lines, which is the first long English line, we are making a request to the Guru, recognizing him as being all 4 bodies together. So it is a condensed request. And then this is followed by, in English, 3 separate lines where we make extensive requests, where we're recognizing the Guru as being the bodies separately. So you will see in the first line, it says, I make a request to you, who is the embodiment of the 4 kayas. So just a condensed way. In the second line, it says, you, who is the embodiment of the Dharmakaya. And we know that in the Dharmakaya, we have 2 bodies. We have the nature body and the wisdom Dharma body. And then the next line, it says, I make a request to you, who is the embodiment of the Sambhogakaya, the enjoyment body. And in the line after that, I make a request to you, who is the embodiment of the Nirmanakaya, the emanation body. So as you see, we recognize the Guru as being the embodiment of the 4 bodies, having achieved the state of the 4 bodies. The first line is condensed, the other 3 are individual or more extended. Continuing from that, we begin making a request to the Guru, and now we recognize the Guru as being the embodiment of all objects of refuge. So in that, again, we have 2 parts. Initially, we do it in the extensive way, and then we do it in a condensed way. So when we do it in an extensive way, on each line, like we spell it out, we identify what we say. So you see, we say, I make a request to you, Buddha Vajradhara, Supreme Guru Yidam, synthesis of all the gurus. The next line says, I make a request to you, synthesis of all the Yidams. Then I make a request to you, synthesis of all the Buddhas. Then I make a request to you, synthesis of all the sublime Dharma. I make a request to you, synthesis of all the Sangha. I make a request to you, synthesis of all the Dakas and Dakinis. I make a request to you, synthesis of all the Dharma Protectors. So as you see, each line here has identifies like a different aspect. So we say that this is a request recognizing the Guru as being the embodiment of all objects of refuge, but it is done individually, extensively. And then we have the very last line, which is a condensed way. It says, in particular, make a request to you, Buddha Vajradhara, the Supreme Guru Yidam, synthesis of all objects of refuge, all, not each one naming individually, all together. So it's a condensed way. So in this way, we make this request, which is request like digging in a peg in the ground. Okay, so why do we make those different requests? In particular, why do we make this last type of request that is called like driving a peg in the ground? It is because in the 2 previous requests, the first request where we're requesting for the 3 great purposes through a representative, and the second one where we are requesting all the blessings in a heaped way, in a grouped way, we are actually addressing everybody. right? So we are petitioning our own guru, we're petitioning all the gurus with whom we have a dharmic connection, the root guru, then we petition Guru Shakyamuni, then we petition all the lamas of the extensive lineage, all the lamas of the profound view, all the lamas of the blessed practice. So basically we request everyone that is there to please bless us, give us some blessings. But when we do the last type of request, which is called like driving a peg into the ground, we're only requesting one figure. We're only requesting the Lama, the Guru, that we see as the embodiment of all objects of refuge. So we're not diverting the request here and there to everyone. We make one emphatic request just to one person. And this is why it is called driving a peg into the ground. It just goes into one place, straight in. So we just have one emphatic request. So as we're making this single pointed request that is like driving a peg into the ground, what is going on through our mind? It says, myself and all mother sentient beings have undergone intense suffering for a very long time since our birth in samsara. So just think, myself and everybody else have experienced various types of suffering since beginningless time. The reason for that lies in not practicing correctly Guru devotion mentally and through actions. Therefore, Supreme Guru Yidam, I beseech you to bless us so that myself and all mother sentient beings may have the ability to practice correctly mental and actual Guru devotion. So basically we say all the suffering we have experienced up to now is because I and everybody else have not been able to practice correct Guru devotion in terms of thought and action. Bless me that today I will find the correct way to rely upon him. Due to this fervent request from the body of Guru Yidam at the crown of your head, so remember that the Guru is still at the crown of your head, descends nectar together with 5 colors of light, which enter in you as well as all mother sentient beings' bodies and minds. It purifies all negativities and obscurations collected from beginningless time. In particular, it purifies all spirit, illness, obscurations, and negativities that prevent us from being able to practice correct devotion to the Guru in thoughts and through actions. And once we have removed all this, we have purified, our bodies become limpid, clear, and luminous. All good qualities such as merit, lifespan, and so forth improve and expand. In particular, imagine that a special realization that enable us to practice correctly devotion to the Guru in thoughts and through actions is generated in all our minds. Okay, so as we come to this point, we have actually completed the list of the 6 preliminaries. And from that point onward, we begin with the actual session. So if you go on the first page of your text, just to look at the outlines, you can see them in bold. It says how to practice Guru devotion, the root of the path, and how to train one's mind after one has generated devotion. So the first one, how to practice Guru devotion, the root of the path, has 3 points or 3 parts. It has the preparation, it has the actual practice, and then it has the conclusion. So in the preparation, which is what we have been doing up to here, we have to go through the 6 preliminaries. So these 6 preliminaries have been presented here with the first subject, which is how to rely upon the teacher, the spiritual teacher. But we must understand that these 6 preliminaries, they must come at the beginning, at the start of the session of any other subsequent Lamrim meditation. So whether you meditate about the suffering of samsara, whether you meditate about the precious human rebirth, whether you meditate upon death and impermanence, whatever the subject we meditate upon, we will need to do those 6 preliminaries. So it's not that they're only relevant for the first one, how to rely on the teacher. They're relevant for all. But obviously the text is not going to repeat those 6 preliminaries on every subject, on every chapter, right? So this is what we need to understand. It is absolutely crucial that we rely on these 6 preliminaries, because they include all the methods for building up our accumulation, for working towards our purification. And in brief, you can see that they contain the elements of the entire path. And this is actually something that it is stressed in Protector Madria's Ornament of Realization, and also the word commentary to that particular text. We call them the preliminaries, and we make the division between preliminaries and actual session. But this does not mean that the preliminaries are something which is small, insignificant, and we have to wait for the actual part to get into the meaty part, or, the most important part. Actually, you would say that the preliminaries are almost more important than the actual part. The preliminaries is the most important preparation. The quality of the main session is determined by the quality of your preliminaries. If your preliminaries are good, it is said that they are like a water pipe or a water channel, right? So if that water channel is clean, the water will flow in that easily. So the water is like the main meditation. This will flow easily. So the realizations will come easily if you have done properly the preparation of the 6 preliminaries. So they're absolutely crucial. We come now, having completed the preliminaries, we come to the second one, which is the actual part. We're at the top of page 6. The actual part consists of 2, the manner to practice Guru devotion in thought and the manner to practice Guru devotion through action. So the first one, how to practice Guru devotion through thought, has 2 parts: cultivate faith, the root, and cultivate respect, remembering the kindness. So in terms of actual Guru devotion, it is through your thought and through your actions. Through your actions indicates the way that we will serve the Guru with our body and our speech and, the activities, how we relate to the gurus. But the first part is how to devote ourselves through thought. And through thought, like what's your attitude, has 2 parts. The first one is that we have to cultivate faith, and the second one is we have to cultivate respect. So how do we cultivate faith for the Guru? It says if we are capable of seeing the Guru as the Buddha, it means we will recognize countless qualities on the Guru. And if we can see all these qualities, if we can actually manage to see the Guru as the Buddha, then incredible faith will be generated within us. Now, that the Guru is the Buddha is something that we can establish through scriptural quotation and through logic. And as we say, if we can do this, great faith will come. And with great faith come great blessings. Okay, the second part, which is to generate respect. We generate respect by remembering the kindness of the Guru. So we have to reflect again and again, he has been kind to me in this way and that way and that way. And when we recall and recognize all these instances of kindness, we generate respect. Okay, so it's continue with the text. It says, from the heart of Guru Buddha are emanated in the space in front of yourself, the lamas from whom you have received teachings directly. Having visualized them residing in the space in front of you, contemplate. Okay, so what are we doing here? We finished the 6 preliminary with the last petition, which is the petition of that is similar to driving a peg on the ground. And when we do this, we have consolidated the entire field of accumulation into the single figure, which is the Guru at the crown of our head. And this is how we did the last petition. Now we visualize that rays of light emanate from the heart of this single figure that we have at the crown of our head. And at the tips of these rays of light, we place all the teachers, all the lamas with whom we have a Dharma connection. So that actually indicates everyone from whom we have received any teaching, no matter how short. So anything from one line onwards or upwards, is considered to be our guru with whom we have a dharmic connection and needs to be included in this visualization. So it's not a simple visualization, and make sure you don't exclude even one of your teachers. So you have 100 teachers, you have 200 teachers, make sure you visualize all of them in front of you. Okay, so once you have emanated all those teachers, direct, indirect teachers, with whom you have a dharmic connection, then you contemplate. These spiritual teachers of mine are true Buddhas. Okay, so when you say this, now you need a proof. And we're going to prove it through scriptural quotation and through logic. Okay. The perfect and complete Buddha himself proclaimed in the precious Tantric text that during the degenerate times, Buddha Vajradhara will manifest in the form of spiritual teachers to accomplish the being's benefits. Also, these spiritual teachers of mine, except for simply showing an external different form, are indeed manifestations of Buddha Vajradhara, who assumes the form of spiritual teachers in order to take care of those of us who are not fortunate to see Buddhas directly. So this paragraph is the reason. So all of these teachers that I have visualized in front of me, they are the Buddhas. Why? Because the Buddha himself has stated that. The Buddha has said that in degenerative times, I will come in the aspect of an ordinary teacher. So all these teachers that appear ordinary, in reality, they are Buddhas. They are Buddha Vajradhara. Why? Because the Buddha himself has said so. So apart from showing different aspects, each one has a different physical form, in reality, their essence, their nature is to be Buddhas. From my side, I do not have the fortune to directly meet with the Buddhas. I can only meet ordinary beings. So they appear in different human aspects. In reality, they're Buddhas. So we're looking here at the reason, and we say the reason why I say that all these teachers are true Buddhas is because the Buddha himself has stated that he, in degenerative times, he will appear in an ordinary form. The Buddha actually has made this statement on a number of occasions, so we have a number of quotations in different tantras. In particular, here we're looking at a quotation from Vajra Royal Tantra, where it says, "In future times, my physical form will be that of masters. Also, for 5 millennia, I will take the form of masters. Think that they are me and develop respect for them in these times." So he says very clearly, at degenerative times, I will appear in the form of your spiritual teacher, of the ordinary master. So when you look at this teacher, at this ordinary being that is your teacher, when you look at him, you should think, you should recognize that it is me, it is the Buddha. At degenerative times, this is how I will appear. So we know that the speech of the Buddha is unfailing, it's unmistaken, and therefore from our side, with that faith in the speech, in the validity of the speech of the Buddha, we should accept this statement. The Buddha has said this, it is like this. Okay, so here are the easy path, as we say, the condensed text, and it just says, you know, you should see the teacher as the Buddha. However, it would be very good if we enrich the text by giving some more reasoning that comes from more extensive Lamrims. So at this point, our other Lamrims elaborate with 3 points. The first point is why you should see him as a Buddha. The second point is you are capable of seeing him as the Buddha. And the third one is how to actually regard him properly as being the Buddha. So let's explain the first one, because we say it's a point that we have to establish, we have to prove. First of all, why should you see the Guru as the Buddha? There is a very simple reason for that. You want to see him as a Buddha because if you see him as a Buddha, there is benefit. If you don't see him as a Buddha, you are missing out. Nobody wants to miss out. Everyone wants to have the maximum benefit. If you are able to see the teacher as the Buddha, you receive all the blessings. If your teacher is the Buddha and you don't see him as the Buddha, you're missing out on the blessings, aren't you? We have the examples of Devadatta and what was his name? Lekpekarma. The Buddha had manifested enlightenment in Bodh Gaya, but these two, they doubted that he was a Buddha. They didn't want to recognize that he was an enlightened being. And we see that they didn't benefit, they didn't get the blessings, they missed out on the blessings. So the first question, why should I see him as a Buddha? Well, because there's the benefit of the blessings if you do. Okay, we have established the first point, why you need to see him as a Buddha. And you might say, okay, I understand this benefit if I can see him as a Buddha. But the second question is, am I able to see him as a Buddha? I can't see him as a Buddha because actually I notice he has quite a few faults. And the Buddhas have completely exhausted all the faults. The Buddhas are faultless. And here I have a person who has a number of faults. How am I capable of seeing him as the Buddha? And the answer to that is yes, you are capable. You will be able to do this if you focus on his good qualities. So stop focusing on the faults. The more you focus on the faults, the more difficult it is. But if you train your mind to focus on his qualities, you will notice more and more qualities. And this recognition of qualities will override any faults that you perceive. To give you an example, when the sun comes out, the light of the sun overrides or outshines the light of the stars that are remaining in the sky, right? So it is like this. If you focus on the positive, it will override whatever faults or negativities you might perceive. The other thing to keep in mind is that who I meet is appropriate to the level of my fortune. And I don't have the fortune, I don't have the merit to meet perfect beings. My level of merit, my level of fortune is to meet ordinary beings. And those ordinary beings might appear with some faults, okay? So the fact that there are faults appearing in the teacher is due to my own level of fortune, right? So this is how we train ourselves. We train ourselves and we are capable of seeing him as the Buddha by focusing on the positive qualities, not the negative, the positive. Okay, so we have explained why you should see him as a Buddha. We have explained how you can see him as a Buddha, how you are able of seeing him as a Buddha. And now comes the third point is, okay, if I must see him as a Buddha, how can I properly regard him as that? So for that, we give 4 reasonings. The first one is that Vajradhara himself has said that the Guru is the Buddha. The second reason is that he is the agent of all the Buddha's activities, right? And there's proof for that. The third one is that Buddhas still work for the benefit of sentient beings. These days, they're still working for the benefit of sentient beings. And the fourth one is that you cannot be sure about your appearances, about what appears to you. So these 4 reasons. Okay, so you see actually that there are 4 reasons that establish how to properly see him as that. However, in the easy path, we only have mention of one of those reasons, the reason that Vajradhara himself said so. So the other 3 reasons are missing. Now, in general, when we want to establish something, the more reasons we can bring forward, the better it is. The more reasons you can bring into this discussion, the more certainty you will induce. And if you have the certainty that he's the Buddha, you will see him as the Buddha. And if you see him as the Buddha, you will have the great benefit of quickly receiving the blessings. Okay, so going back into the text, so it says, so please, Supreme Guru Yidam, bless me and all mother sentient beings so that we see all these spiritual teachers as true Buddha Vajradhara. Due to this fervent request, from the body of Guru Yidam at the crown of your head descends nectar together with 5 colors light, which enter in you as well as in all mother sentient beings' bodies and minds. It purifies what hinders this realization. In particular, imagine that this special realization of these topics is generated in all of our minds. So with this particular understanding, we make a request, and this is we're requesting for the blessings that we can have realizations on this specific point. All right, so Geshe would like to stop the presentation of the text here, but we have a good 10 minutes for questions and answers. So please, if you have questions, ask them. Okay, so there are 2 questions. The first question is how, if I have the specific interest to study and to practice a particular aspect of Dharma, how to go about asking this to a Lama. The second was actually a comment that the person finds Geshe to be extremely kind, and by teaching us here the easy path, the person has found it greatly beneficial and finds that their interest in the Lamrim and the way that they approach the Lamrim have changed, and it's a great improvement, and that person is actually wishing Geshe to have a very long life and keep turning the wheel of Dharma for a long time and guide us and take care of us for a long time into the future. The second question is that I have many teachers, but I seem to have different attitude towards them. I consider some of them to be much more important and others to be less important. So how can I deal with this situation? Okay, so for the first question, Geshe is saying if you want to study something, you just go into the room of the Lama and just speak out and say, I want to study such and such, right? Okay, so all joke aside, it is not a good thing to go into the room of the Lama and just say, I want to practice Tantra. Give me Tantra, give me initiations, give it to me. Tantra is very special. And what we have to understand is that is not the starting point, is not the beginning point. So Geshe is saying, I suggest that you always start your practice with the Lamrim. Study the Lamrim first, understand the Lamrim first, know how to go for refuge, understand the law of cause and effect, get those things in place and say, okay, and I want to reach the state of Buddhahood. Please teach me the graduated stages of the path to enlightenment so that I can get there. So that would be a much more appropriate request. Go in and ask for Lamrim. Or again, if you are kind of like confused, you don't know where to start from, right? You want to study, but you don't know where to start from. Just say this. I want to study. Could you please give me guidance? Where should I start from? Or again, okay, so we come to this one. If you have received Lamrim teachings, if you have done this basic training, you can go in and say, I have studied the Lamrim, I'm confident in the Lamrim, and now I would like to study Tantra. Please give me some Tantric teachings. As we say, Tantra is very special. But for Tantra to be special, it has to be taught to a student who is also special. So the student must have special qualifications. We say this about the Mahayana. We say it's not enough that the Dharma is Mahayana. The student must make it Mahayana. The student must also be Mahayana. All right? So this is the way to go about and ask for teachings. Understand you need some basic teachings to begin with. Okay, so that's the first question. The second question, all right, you say you have some teachers and some of your teachers, you consider them to be very special and you have great faith for them. So analyze the situation. How did I get to develop this great faith and devotion towards this particular teacher? And then take that technique and try to apply it towards the teachers for whom you don't have that much faith and respect. So we gave today, these reasons you can establish logically. He has taught me this subject. He has benefited me in this way. He is extremely kind. And take it this, focus on his good qualities and the benefit to the point that you can see this as the Buddha. It is something that we can train our mind to do that. Okay, so you train your mind, focus on the one you have lesser faith to increase that. Okay, so we come to the dedications, and I have to say that my mother, who is quite old, is very seriously ill. So Geshe was saying, as we come to the dedication now, since we have become Dharma friends, it's actually very beneficial that we dedicate for each other. There's great benefit in that. So please dedicate towards my mother that she recovers, and if she doesn't recover, that she has a peaceful passing. There will not be much suffering as she passes away. And when she passes away, that she will have the opportunity in the next life to establish a good physical basis so that she can engage the study of Dharma and progress to enlightenment. So let's all dedicate in this way. Geshe is very kind.
Tujiji Geshe La. Thank you. Now we can begin the dedication. 好，那我们一起做回向。